Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Outsiders.
I'm Seth Austin.
And I'm Todd Piggery.
And we're a couple of actors stuck on the outside, trying to make our way to the inside of the biz.
Hollywood, baby. Whoa, that was too sexy for me.
In a world where Seth and Todd are stuck on the outside.
That
Todd,
guy had a great run, didn't he?
Nothing is too sexy for you, first of all. And secondly, nothing is beneath you, sexy-wise. And secondly, yes, that guy did have a good run. I hope that guy, I think, whose voice was that? Was that Fred Melamed? Was that who did the In a World? There's actually now if we're going to digress right off the top here very quickly, there's a movie called That Voice with Lake Bell and Fred Melamed. And it's about voiceover actors, and it's freaking great. That movie is fantastic. Watch it. I saw it years ago, and it's hilarious. Lake Bell is talented like none other.
So watch that movie, and then tell us what you think by emailing us at theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com. And biz is spelled B-I-Z, right?
B-I-Z, that's exactly right, Todd. It's theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And Todd is a master of keeping us on track. That was well done.
And
Todd.
you are on topic because we're talking movies.
We're talking muvies here today, guys. What we're watching when there's not much going on still.
This is kind of a little mini part 3 because check back at our last episodes. And the last episode, I got all irate. So we're trying to be positive this one. But we did this exercise by taking a top 10 list of the top 10 movies. It was Hollywood Reporters, I think.
Hollywood Reporter, yep.
And Seth goes, yeah, man, I can't talk about it. What if I haven't seen half the movies? And in the top 10 list, Seth hadn't seen one film and I hadn't seen one film.
I had not seen 2001, A Space Odyssey. And Todd?
I had not seen Schindler's List. So I said, that's perfect because it proves that we're not perfect, because I'm sure by now you guys know that we're perfect.
But now we are perfect because we've seen these movies. We are perfect people, Todd, and don't let anyone tell you differently.
I'll tell you, though, doing something like this and talking about something like this as an actor that wants to make it, that's an outsiders, okay, now the gauntlet was thrown down. We have to see these movies because we've spoken about it, and there's no reason not to. There's an interwebs.
And as we've said before, or I've said many times before, is that this podcast, one of my favorite things about it is that it keeps me honest. It keeps me on track. It keeps me in the game.
Strikingly, I must say that I feel that 2001 Space Odyssey and Schindler's List, really when you break them down, were the same movie, right?
Oh, 100% the same. You've got aliens, you've got large monoliths causing people to advance to the next stages of civilization. That happens in Schindler's List, right?
Wait, did I watch the wrong movie?
Todd, did you watch Beverly? Did you do it? Did you pull a me and watch Beverly Hills Chihuahua instead?
That has no aliens in it. No, I watched the right movie. I would say actually they are distinctly different films.
I would say that they are quite different. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. Like Stanley Kubrick. Okay. First of all,
yep. Go.
I won't say that I got it. I didn't get it.
Oh my God. When it ended,
I didn't get it.
2001 Space Odyssey, I went, oh my God, it's not a movie, it's a film.
I kept being like, okay, I need to go back and rewatch these parts that I found confusing. I mean, there were certain aspects of it that I did kind of get, like when he's in at the very end watching.
No spoiler alerts? Are we doing no spoiler alerts?
I mean, spoiler alert. Yeah, we're going to give away certain things, and I think that's fine.
All right. I can not give, but okay.
Okay, so I'll try not to. But at the very end, there's like this scene where he's in a room, and there's like all these things happening, and I kind of got what was going on there, but I didn't get where it fit in the bigger picture.
Well, would you say this is fair? Because actually, in all honesty, 2001 Space Odyssey, I saw recently.
Okay.
Finally. So, I mean, I would have had 2 movies I hadn't seen, but it turned out I had seen that on my friend's. He had a Blu-ray of it. It was a big, giant TV. I was house sitting. But I don't think you're supposed to know the ending. It's deliberately the way it's a mind fuck.
Yes and no. Okay, so yes, I mean to watch it they're not explicit about things, right?
I'm pretty sure that was the filmmaker's intent, and I've even read that. I haven't read a lot of critiques on that movie now that I've finally seen it, but
to a certain degree, yes, like he did say afterwards that he didn't want to be explicit about certain things because he wanted people to put their own subjective meanings onto these things, and that's valuable, right? But there's also a thing that I read about the very literal explanation of what happens in the film, and I actually agreed with. I mean, it makes sense based on the way the film went. I was like, oh yeah, and it's hard to make those connections on your own because they're very not explicit. But I could see what they were saying, and it's also based on a novel, I believe, which I guess does make those connections like more explicitly in the novel about what the big black monolith thing was, and its connection in the different stages of the film. But my point is, now I'm getting long-winded about this, and we digressed a bit, but my point is, even though I did not get the film, quote unquote, get it at the end, and I had to go look up all this explanation, I was enthralled throughout the film. I mean, the production value alone, I can't think of a better film off the top of my head as far as production value is concerned. How they managed to show, I mean, this film was made in 1968. And it's got better space effects than a million films that have come after it, even extremely recent ones. Like, I thought the space stuff was as good or better even than Gravity. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch Gravity, but man, I believed every frame that they were in space, and these crafts that they created were incredible, and the acting is incredible. Like, minimalistic and well done. Like, everything about it, every element of that film is so crafted. I mean, that is every shot, the camera craft. There's just all of a sudden when it cuts to these, when they're on the moon, when the American commander or whatever his name is on the moon, going down into the place where it's dug out around the big black thing. There's a few shots where they cut to these shaky over the shoulders. And I'm like, how did there's no other over the shoulder shots in the whole film, really. Not like that, not where it's done completely shaky as if it's not even on a steady cam. The camera is literally like that's nowhere else in the film, I don't think. And maybe they did a bunch of those and figured out that that's the only place it fit. However, the film is just so expertly crafted from beginning to end. And I can't even think of a comparison.
And all the kids in my acting class, and I'm not joking when I say kids that are so much younger than I am, and then they reprimand me for reprimanding them about not seeing a certain movie. And I said, when I was your age, when I was your age, but it's true, is that the access to these films was harder. Right. So nowadays, if you show up at an audition saying, well, I don't watch this TV show. It's at your fingertips now. It's on your phone, for God's sake. So you have to, these are two movies you should see.
And from an acting perspective, you really have to see them because if you're called in to audition for this kind of stuff, it's probably going to be an interview process, first of all, because there's very little dialogue, right? Unless you're playing one of the leads, right? So you have to be ready for a situation where it's going to be weird. The audition process is going to be very strange because when you look at the final product, there's not a lot for the actors to quote unquote do in this film, right? And then when you get on set, you're going to have to be ready for a lot of weirdness on a set like that. You're going to have to sort of get in that mindset. Okay, this is what the final product could look like. So this set could be a very strange place. I might not get a lot of direction as far as acting is concerned because that is a filmmaker's film.
Correct.
That is Stanley Kubrick's baby. As an actor, for better or worse, are not going to have a lot of influence on the outcome of what that film is like. And so you're just going to have to sort of walk into that set and just give up all of that preconceived, I need to be prepared. I have all this clout. You don't. You're walking into that with nothing.
Even the leads.
Yeah,
actors need to remember that film is a director's medium.
Exactly.
Keep that in mind, even if you're playing a lead. And I do want to piggyback on, before I forget, just make one more point that you started. This film was made, the kids, saying, oh, I don't like watching old movies. This film was made in 1968. When you watch it, remind yourself, because you'll be blown away. And it is slower than most films. I mean, there's a score. I will say it was hard for me to stay focused, except for the fact that it was so amazing. So like when the ships dock and they're playing that score that's amazing, it's like it takes like 5 to 8 minutes for the ship to dock.
Yeah.
It's a long film, but I don't think there's a moment in it that wasn't justified, even as long. And I'll say it's going to be boring to a lot of people. There's a lot of lag time, but there's also so many cultural references. You just gotta watch it.
And there's even a humor. There's even like this moment of humor where, or at least I found it humorous. Yeah, there's one specific one where the commander is looking at the rules for how to use the zero gravity toilet, and it's like
Forgot about that.
It's like 10 rules, and they're all like 3 lines long. And this guy, and I read about it afterwards. There's a very direct or literal like point that the director's trying to make, is that when we enter space, even as a highly evolved species, which we think we are, very smart, now we've gotten into space, we become children again. We have to re-potty train ourselves. How to use the toilet in space. And that's where I read this very interesting analysis, this literal like, okay, this is what's happening, point A, point B, with the monolith directing us to Jupiter, all this different story. That was one of the biggest things I took away from it, or the most interesting things, is that like, okay, now we've graduated, we're smart enough to get into space. Well, now we have to relearn, we're babies again, in every aspect of it. We have to relearn how to do everything, even use the toilet.
And I'm sorry, as far as, maybe I'm segueing, which is nice, but as far as which movie do you need to, 2001 Space Odyssey or Schindler's List, which one do you need to watch first? 2001 Space Odyssey has so many cultural references that even a 20-year-old knows, but doesn't know they know it.
Right. That's a very good point.
So 2001 Space Odyssey is a film that you have to see if you're an actor, because there's going to be references.
Yeah.
That's Hal. Hal is a great character.
Hal. Yeah. The computer.
And you're a lot younger than me. Did you feel what?
Thankfully.
Amen. I mean, filling the holes in my movie knowledge, I'm still doing at my tender age.
Would you say that filling the holes in your movie knowledge, Todd, or like filling the sort of philosophical, emotional holes that you yourself are feeling in yourself these days with COVID and stuff?
Yeah, we weren't going to get into this. No, that was acting, bad acting. But
Todd, you're going to be on a soap opera with that level of skill. Don't kid yourself.
Do they still make those? They do. General Hospital.
And one of them just came back into full production, I heard.
Yeah. But so Schindler's List. Yeah, I know why I didn't. That's another film. I mean, my negative thing right away was like, it didn't need to be that long.
Yeah.
And my other negative thing, and I'm going to just spoiler alert, which isn't really a spoiler alert. It was way too violent for me.
Yeah.
I just think, I got a good education on the Holocaust, a very good education, and a very good education on slavery in America. And so we talked about this in one of our podcasts, that 12 Years a Slave, I saw it after it won Best Film, but same thing. Both those movies, I will highly recommend you not to see if you're not into violence, because it's tough. And turn your head away. I did a lot.
Yeah.
And I understand the point of it, but I just felt, 3 extremely violent scenes were enough. But the story itself's amazing. And Liam Neeson, again, you need to see it for his performance. I can't remember who won the Oscar that year. I hope it was deserving, because Liam Neeson was nominated.
Kills it. Yeah.
And just, again, they say sometimes you watch, you go to the theater, especially the theater, but you see it in film too. You go for moments. And again, no spoiler alerts, but the climactic scene with Liam Neeson was, with the violence and the length of the film, I kind of really was hating it. But we got to the final scene just because it was too much for me.
Yeah.
And it was too long for me. But then I go, oh my, the redemption of you. Again, you need to see this movie and you need to watch the whole thing, not just, just.
The payoff. So you're saying the payoff was worth it in a sense.
And then the film ends with, spoiler alert, or sort of not spoiler alert. It was funny because, I talked to a few people about it because I finally got to see it and people were aghast that I hadn't seen it as an actor. But the credits sequence there's a documentary version of the Holocaust survivors. And somebody said, that was terrible. They didn't like it. I thought that was a lovely touch.
I have to watch it again. I don't know if so it's at the very end.
The credits are actual real survivors.
Oh yeah. I thought that was a lovely touch as well.
I thought it was great.
So
Especially
here's
in a historical film.
So here's the thing that I'm thinking right now, and I'm trying to, man, I haven't watched this film in a very long time. I think I watched it in high school and probably haven't seen it since. So regarding the violence, in both of those films, actually, I think that the violence in both of 12 Years a Slave and Schindler's List, it's one of those things where, now if you don't have a stomach for violence, period, it's always going to be tough. But particularly in those two films, I didn't feel like it was gratuitous in any way, shape, or form, right?
Because I thought both of those films, it was gratuitous.
Really? See, I did not think that. I thought that was part of it, right? It also is part of the filmmaking thing, right? It's like, it's a black and white film, right? So the violence is even a little bit more shocking because it's a black and white film.
I don't know about that.
For me anyway, that it was. And like it was, how do I put it? It was part of the telling of the story. It's like you have to show how brutally violent these circumstances are in order for the things in the story to have as much weight as they are meant to have. You know, I would even argue that, at least with the beginning of Braveheart, right? In order for you to get 100% on William Wallace's side at the beginning of Braveheart, you have to, you have to watch him like slit that guy's throat and stuff like that. You know, the violence is meant to get you into the thing. And I would, as tough as it is, I don't think that it was, I mean, I need to watch it again to maybe 100% agree with my next statement, but I don't think that it was gratuitous. Not still hard to watch, but yeah.
Well, okay, so here's my take on it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stand with, gratuitous. I think it's a sign of our violent society that we can stomach it. But for me, you need to have the establishing violence to prove that it's real. I think 3 is enough. I think after 3, it becomes gratuitous. I think it needs to be woven into the storyline. And I suppose that's the pessimist in me in the real world, that I'm afraid really evil, racist people are watching a film like 12 Years a Slave for fun. They slip it in for fun. And that's just my opinion. So I feel like, and again, my opinion is, 3 hours is awful long for a movie. So I don't know. It's just, they could definitely be, it definitely could have been, but that's the way I feel about most films I see nowadays anyway, that they needed a better editor, not necessarily even shorter. I have a lot of respect for editing, and I do notice great editing in movies. And I do think a good editor makes a movie. Back to the
100%. Yeah. I mean,
film is a director/editor's medium.
I felt that way more about, now I'm thinking back again, I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm thinking, that the length, for whatever reason, maybe because I watched it in sections in high school, the length of Schindler's List did not bother me. The length of 12 Years a Slave sort of did. Like I thought it was a bit long. Like another movie, The Revenant, that could have been so much shorter, even though it was so beautiful. I felt like,
I haven't seen that. Thank you. Now I have to add that to my list, maybe tonight.
The Revenant is such a beautiful film. Emmanuel Lubezki, I think he won the Oscar for that one again. He's won the Oscar for cinematography like more than anyone else. Children of Men. What's that?
That was a beautifully edited, beautifully filmed film.
I mean, he's probably the best cinematographer in the history of cinematographers, honestly. I mean, he deserves the award. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not exaggerating. He does most of Terrence Malick's stuff. Why am I so, I guess I'm so defensive about him because I worked with him on set. I actually got to meet the guy, and he's really
On what set did you work with him on?
On The New World, a Terrence Malick film. I was background. I helped build the set, and then I was background for like 2 weeks on that film.
That's fantastic, and you got to watch it.
It was a great experience, and I got to be one of the settlers. Anyway.
Did you get to see him work, actually? Were you able to?
Yeah, I was there on set for 2 or 3 weeks, I guess it was, straight, and got to watch the whole process.
What was the most amazing thing you noticed, or you watched him do? Was there something that you went, "What is he doing? What is he doing? Oh, that's so cool!" Or, I mean, maybe not.
No, it was a weird set. There was a lot of, Terrence Malick is an interesting guy, and I was fresh out of college, and I didn't know anything about anything at that point. Right. I didn't know anything about anything as far as filmmaking was concerned.
Sure.
And what struck me was that this, and I didn't realize this until I'd seen the finished product, but when you're watching people work on set, it doesn't look like they're doing much. You know, it just doesn't. Like there's just not much. This guy is carrying around a camera, and this other guy's, you know, the director's telling him what to do a lot of the time. They're working together to get these shots. But when you're there on set, you cannot imagine what is then going to be the final product.
Right.
Especially when you're new. So that's the most amazing thing to me, is that I was kind of looking at it with like this sort of, actually a bit of cynicism, to be perfectly honest, because I was like, oh, you have all these people sitting around doing all this work, working really hard, and then there's these guys with the camera, and like, what are they really getting? Like, what is this? How is this going to look like anything? Why are we spending all of our time doing this thing? And they're, you know, you can tell they're faking all of this stuff, like quote unquote faking it. They keep using, okay, let's cheat this way. Let's, you know, you see like it's craft, you know, you're right. They're not capturing what's literally there. They're capturing shots that are going to tell their story later on. And they know that. And as an outsider trying to watch this, you can't imagine what they're trying to get, you know, until.
But did you, when you saw the film, was that an aha moment for you?
Oh, a huge aha moment.
Cool.
Like that became one of my favorite films of all time.
Right.
Because I was there and I got to watch all of this insane sort of boring crap happening a lot of the time. And then to watch this, how they were able to tell this story with, you know, one of the biggest digs on that film, The New World, is that there's like almost no actual dialogue. Most of the words that are spoken are in voiceover, and there's not even that much of that. It's told through visuals most of the time. Terrence Malick is known for doing that. That's his MO. He tells it purely through visuals a lot of the time. And the fact that he's able to stir up real emotions, like genuine, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it right now, just through his use of visuals throughout the film, you know, and tell this interesting story, and to give you these philosophical viewpoints purely through visuals, you know.
And one more time, the name of the film?
The New World by Terrence Malick.
The New World. So, okay, so what you all need to do is watch The New World. You need to watch Schindler's List if you haven't seen it. It really was an amazing film. That's just a personal opinion on those films. I personally have a problem with violence. So, you know, don't send me a hate email. But I want to warn people. I have friends that would not watch Schindler's List. They would probably shut it off because it's pretty violent. But it's a great film. As an actor, you know, fast forward through him, if you know that Liam Neeson is great, and you need to see 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah, and I agree with Todd, what Todd said before. I think having seen them both, that the latter is, I think, more important because of just the overall cultural impact
and
that film has had, and references, and the fact that like it's probably one of the first films to do the man versus machine thing, where the machine becomes a little too smart and starts to take over, and man has to rebel against it. That whole trope that's now been done so many times. I'm pretty sure that was the first film.
Maybe not the first, but it was the first big one.
The first big one, yeah.
It definitely wasn't the first, because Metropolis, silent movie.
Oh, okay. I don't know that
which goes on a list too. But email us what you thought of any of these movies at the outsidersbiz, B-I-Z, @gmail.com. And I better start watching movies right now.
You better, Todd. And one of them has got to be, a film called Unbelievable, which I was in and I produced.
I wrote it down.
There it is. It's on Todd's list. He's going to watch it. And everyone should pay your $4 on Amazon to rent Unbelievable. Watch me have a very high voice. My voice sounds like I'm speaking with helium. It's completely ridiculous and it's fun. So watch it.
And we'll talk about more movies.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Go to your therapist. Stay safe.
Get some popcorn.
Bye.
Bye-bye.